Hello, dear friends. This is Pavel Verbnyak, success speaker and expert on psychology of success and goal setting. And today we are having great conversation with good friend of mine, PhD in commerce, Barbara van Heerden. Hi, Barbara. Thank you very much for your time and thank you very much for hospitality. I really enjoyed every minute talking with you. You have a lot of stories about the life, about your ancestors. Could you please tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and what's your life about?
Well, thank you, Pavel. As Pavel said, I have a PhD in commerce, and what I proved, scientifically proved, it was a quantitative PhD. I proved that Africa has its very own successful, sustainable business model, and that if you apply these 8 strategies that the successful, sustainable businesses in Africa do, you look after the economic side of things, which I call prosperity, you look after the planet, and you look after the people. And what is unique about my model is that not only can it be scientifically proved, but it can easily be replicated to continents throughout the rest of the world. It doesn't have to just stay in Africa, but the most important thing is that Africans and African countries themselves know that Africa has this incredibly successful business model. And Africa has a very unique strategy called a community support strategy. And that is what other countries and other continents don't seem to have. And whereas when you talk about triple bottom line, which is economic, social, and environmental, in Africa it is seen as the economic is straightforward, it's generic. All your economic goals are the same throughout the rest of the world. And when it comes to the social part of the triple bottom line, social performance, in Africa we call it quality management performance. And we look at points that are more safety and work environment related issues, and what the rest of the world sees as environment performance, Africa sees as social responsibility, business management performance. So we mix our social and our environmental goals together, and the strategies that work within that will reach those environmental goals. So that is what is so unique about my model. And as you can see, I'm passionate about my continent.
Yeah.
I'm passionate about
Because
Africa.
right now we are in South Africa, in Cape Town.
That's right. And so if you would like me to go back to the beginning about who I am and how I got here, it's a different story in that I seem to have done things back to front to other people.
Yeah.
So
And we discussed that yesterday. You showed me some pictures of your
that's right.
ancestors.
And so when I finished school, I was going overseas for about 5 or 6 months. So I didn't start studying straight away. And just before I went overseas, I met the love of my life, a farmer. And he was 7 years older than me. And I fell madly in love. And my parents insisted that I couldn't just get married there and then. At that stage, I was 17. I had a university entrance, and that is where they wanted me to go. And I was just so much in love. I just wanted to marry my farmer. Anyway, I went overseas, traveled Europe. I had gone overseas often as a child. And but no, they insisted I still had to go. And when I came back, I married my farmer. So I was 18 when I got married.
Oh, and he was 25.
And he was 25. And he was a farmer. And I didn't really know much about farming then. I didn't looking back, I didn't know much about anything, but at the time, I thought I knew it all. And I thought I knew it all. And so anyway, I married my farmer in December, just before Christmas, and we started farming. And my goodness, I realized that you think that farming is just what you do and what you sell. But from a business perspective, you need to have a target market, and it needs to be a reliable target market that is always going to buy what it is the farmer's producing. And because what happens most of the time, if you're growing crops, your crops, because you're all growing in a certain area, all come to market at the same time. And when you flood the market, then the prices go down. So you might have spent X amount, and to be able to get your money back and to put money aside, retained earnings, and to grow the money, you need to be very clear on your market, because you have to have a more secure price. And so all of these things I absorbed in the course of being married to the farmer, because we had ups and we had downs. And I thought, no, I don't know if I can live up and down, so maybe I should build a factory. Because if you go into agri-processing, you don't have to sell your product at the time when everybody is selling their product. You can process what you're producing and then go for a more sustainable market where your prices, where you can dictate what your price is, and the market isn't dictating what your price is. So I built my first factory at 19.
Wow.
And because it was agri-processing, in South Africa we have very strict quality control standards. So I went to go and see the person right at the top, and because it was a food factory, it came under the veterinary sciences as well. And I asked him, why did he fail all the small factories that were built on farms? And he said, well, first of all, you had to buy this book of regulations, and then you had to read the book of regulations, and that would tell me everything that I had to do. And I said to him, but I would like to know why you fail certain factories. And then he told me all the points that he failed on. So it was a lot easier to build the factory and get it passed straight away, and for all my produce to be A grade, because I not only knew how to build the factory, but I knew what it was that he failed other factories on. And from there, I just loved factories. My father was managing director of an international food supplier in the food industry, and I had been to factories for this world-known brand throughout the world. Whenever we traveled, we always went to see this particular brand's factories. And so maybe in another world and in another time, I might have been an engineer like he was. But I became a young woman who built factories because nobody would let me run their factories. And then the time came when we got a very strange disease on the factory. I mean, on the farm. And so we had to close the factory and do everything and be in isolation for 2 years. And I got my first opportunity of taking over a food factory in the closest city to our farm. And it was under judicial management, which means that your people you owe money to have applied for your bankruptcy, and you've applied for rescue, and the court has assigned somebody to turn the company around, and that's called judicial management, so it comes under the courts. and I applied to turn this factory around under the judicial manager that the courts had designated for this company. And of course, my mentor was my father.
Right, right.
And he came in, and obviously he was a big industrialist. So he could walk into this factory and see immediately what operating systems could be tweaked and changed, and also hard-earned hands-on experience about how much has been stolen, because it's called shrinkage in this business. And of course, your goods don't shrink, they get stolen.
Right, Barbara, you have very interesting, abundant life. You mentioned mentor, your father. You
Yes.
mentioned crisis for 2 years. What did you learn for this lifetime? Maybe you have some lessons, maybe you have life motto, maybe you have some recommendations to yourself, like 18 years old Barbara. What would you say to our followers and friends who would love to have this kind of life, travel the world, meet great people, do what they love, find their passion as you
Yeah.
did early enough?
Or it's I never thought about it at the time, because literally life is a bit like going to the beach. It's a series of waves. In high tide, the waves are big. Low tide, the waves are small. So unless you know a lot about the sea, and most of us don't really know a lot about anything. And I think one of the first life lessons is you don't know everything. You will never know everything. And that's the most important thing to know,
Yeah.
is to put your ego aside and say, I don't know everything. So, and you don't need to know everything.
It's constant and never-ending process.
That's right.
Improvement.
But one of the things you need to know, and one of the things that was drummed into me by my parents, if you don't know, ask. Never be afraid to
Right.
ask.
That's one of the success principles. Ask, ask, ask. My mentor and friend Jack Canfield mentioned that.
And that was the most important thing, is and if you ask people to help you, the worst they can ever do is say no.
Right,
But most people are helpful.
right.
And most people, like that man that I went to, when I said to him, but what do you fail the factories on?
Right.
He shared that knowledge with me, which then speeded up my process. It meant I could build my factory in a certain time frame, because I asked what the parameters were very clearly. And then I worked towards those parameters. And when things change, that's fine. One of the things you know is things are always going to change.
Right.
And so you go with them. Keep your eyes open. Keep your ears open. And don't be afraid to ask.
Yeah,
And people are happy to mentor you.
absolutely.
And I think as a young girl, growing up in a very different South Africa to what it is today. South Africa is democratic now, but it wasn't then. It was growing up in very much a male-orientated society. It was divided by language. It was divided by culture. It was divided by color. So the reason why I was always able to find the gaps and work between the gaps
Right.
was because of
Flexibility.
mentoring. Flexibility and mentoring.
Right.
Always never been ashamed, never been worried what other people think. Those aren't
Right.
important.
Right.
If you feel you need a mentor, have one.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And you grow so much faster, and you grow in such a broader way.
Wow. Wow. I've been studying successful and productive people for years, and author of several books. And you're right. So it's like there are some principles. I believe that success and happiness, and because it's everyone have their own meanings of success and happiness as well. Predictable is not an accident. And I believe that a lot of productive people like you are, Barbara, have vision, so they're clear about what they want. They take in 100% responsibility for their life.
Oh yes, yeah.
And they take action, they develop themselves professionally and personally. And you mentioned that we all have some waves in life, crises, and difficult situations, and you had some. What can you say about them, Barbara? What, for example, some people have challenges right now, and they probably lost. They don't know exactly what they want. They don't set goals for themselves. Is it necessary to have goals? What's your purpose of life? And there are a lot of questions, but
Yeah, and really, I think I have experienced most problems in life. I mean, when the waves hit, they are tsunamis. And I'm going to say something very strange. You must embrace that time. Embrace that time of pain. Embrace that time of, I can't believe this. I actually can't believe this. Embrace it. Whatever you do, don't push against it. That is a waste of energy. Nothing's going to change it. It's as awful as it is. Don't push against it. Embrace it. Because I'm telling you, there is so much to be gained out of that drama, that dreadfulness, or that pain, whether it's emotional, whether it's physical, whether it's financial. You don't
there
push.
Are gifts present.
Yes, they are. People tell you this, but believe you me, when you're in that deep sorrow, or deep, I haven't got £1 and I need this and I need that, and I'm going to lose everything. No, you embrace it. You embrace, okay, what do I have? Because when we have nothing, we have so much. And it's only in your nothingness do you know your greatness and your abundancy. You have more when you have nothing.
Absolutely. Than
you have when you have everything.
And we had this kind of conversation a couple of days ago,
yes,
Barbara, that you and me are feeling so blessed.
Yes.
Because we found what we're passionate about.
Yes.
I do what I love. I meet great, interesting people, interview them. I travel the world, and able to share the knowledges to inspire people as well. And it's very, very, very nice. And also, Barbara, is it learnable skill? You mentioned before to see the problem as a gift. Were you the same person years ago? Did you have the same life philosophy before, or you just practiced this through meditation, through books, through?
No, I was lucky. My parents. I think my parents. There were only two of us in the family, my sister and my sister died early. There was a lot of tragedy there as well.
You mentioned that 50 years old and she was in a car accident.
And paralyzed, and how she never ever complained. And this is why it's important to keep your eyes open, your ears open, and ask, and because so it was something that came naturally to me because of my environment. My home environment, my school. My junior school was a nightmare, but my high school I had a school principal that was brilliant, that saw me as different and allowed me to be different. You see, I think if you're fortunate, and it all depends, it's almost like a stroke of fate or what, I don't know, but I grew up in a family where I was allowed to be different. And when I wasn't allowed to be different, like when they didn't want me to get married, I knew inside myself what I really wanted. And you said a very important thing. And so what if you make a mistake?
Right.
So what if you make a mistake?
Right.
Change it. The whole thing about decision making is that it can be changed 10 times in one day. When I mean change, corrected, sometimes self-corrected, sometimes auto-corrected, and sometimes corrected after deep thought and analysis. But decisions can be corrected. Decisions can be changed. And do not worry about what other people think.
Right.
Believe in yourself.
Yes.
Believe in yourself. And the more waves that crash over you, the stronger your belief in yourself will become.
Yeah. And you have very powerful daily rituals, daily habits that keep you productive and positive.
Yes,
Could
which
you-
I never thought until I spoke to you.
Right. Barbara, share this please
Yeah,
with us.
so-
Your meditation experience,
Yes.
your books, your everything.
So, until I spoke to Pavel, if people had asked me off the cuff to be creative, because I've done things and I have designed things in business that nobody had ever done. I was a great believer in something called experiential learning and experiential exercises, which were 100% creative. Where did I find the space to be creatively productive? And it was always, I was addicted to the sun. It would be while I was lying at the beach, sunbathing, while I was walking in the mountains, just experiencing nature. When your mind is free and open, when you are in the now.
The power of now.
The power of now. And what is the power of now? It's about, at this very moment, you and I talking.
Yeah.
What are you seeing? And you take a moment and you look
Right.
at what you're seeing.
Yeah.
And what are you smelling? And you breathe and you think about what it is that I'm smelling. And then you say to yourself, what am I hearing?
Right.
And so you're seeing, you're smelling, you're hearing. What am I tasting?
Is it the same as mindfulness or?
No, it's different.
Yeah.
This is a different exercise. And you concentrate, what am I tasting in my mouth? And then you say to yourself, what am I feeling?
Right.
Emotionally feeling? And what am I feeling physically? And then you know that in this instant of doing your 5 senses, that your world is perfect. This moment is perfect. And you can do that in the moment of the most awful trauma.
Right.
And you will know within that trauma, just concentrating on your 5 senses, and you're breathing the whole time. You are in the now, you are mindful, you're mindful doing those exercises, make you mindful. So you have a pause in your life, which is perfect.
Yeah.
Which is perfect. And then everything else calms around you.
Wow.
And then your mind is calm. Because when your mind is calm, it can be focused. And then you wait. So I need a certain amount of structure in my life. And obviously, being the mother of 4 children, they have always needed structure as well. So I do well with structure. I am a person that doesn't need much sleep. So when you have lots of children, and like when I was doing my MBA, I would do it at 11 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, while they were all sleeping, so that I could concentrate on doing that. So you need your quiet time. And so I wake up early in the morning. If I've got a busy day, I wake up early in the morning so I can do meditation.
Right.
And I like to
Gratitude.
use that, yes, that insight time, a guided meditation, because there's such a variety of people and everybody's sharing their personal experiences. So they know, you know, that they've done these meditations and it works.
And we expand our mind thinking processes and everything going on inside
Of course,
as well.
because these are different
Having
viewpoints.
these kind of connections with different people.
Yes, it's different viewpoints,
Right.
different perspectives. Diversity is one of you. If you want to succeed in life, make sure that the people in your circle are well diversified.
Yes.
Because otherwise, you're going to turn out like everybody else.
Right.
So the more diversified you have, and the more you engage on a diversified
Diversified mind people, not
Yes.
like-minded people.
No, not like-minded.
Right.
No. Because then you're reinforcing
Yeah.
a closed
Yeah.
mind, and especially as a business consultant, as a business coach, business mentor, you need to be broad-minded.
Yesterday we had very deep conversation about everything here. To be honest, Barbara, I don't know a lot about my ancestors, but you know a lot about your ancestors, and you have great connection with them. I'm very grateful also for my mom and
Yes,
father and
parents. Yeah.
grandparents but why is it so important to know your own ancestors' history? Why it's very important to have this kind of connections, because even they passed away, we still have this kind of
Yeah, we do.
yeah.
We do, because of intergenerational trauma. So traumas that happen in families get passed from generation to generation to generation. And the world has come to a place now where there are a lot of people getting in touch with why is there so much illness? Why is there so much mental illness? Why is there so much physical illness? Why do bad things happen to me? And there are many schools of thought. There's a very interesting man on social media called Thomas Hubl, Hubl. He talks a lot about generational trauma. I am a constellator, so I've done training in systemic constellations, where ancestors who've been excluded can be many generations ago, many thousands of years ago, and they are trying to come back into that family, to be brought together again. We all have a sense of belonging.
Right.
We all need unconditional love. We need to recognize place and time. So if you are child number 4, you need to recognize that child 1 has preference over child 2, has preference over child 3 and 4, because timing. So there's place and order. So it's about the order of things. So if, for instance, in a family there have been miscarriages, stillbirths, or children have died, or you've had abortions, your number 4 child who is experiencing trauma of some kind, whether it's autism or schizophrenia, it could be something as simple as it's not really child number 4, it's child number 8. And because the order of the child is not the 4 that it's thinking that it has had, and how these intergenerational traumas are perpetuated because ancestors have been excluded, family members have been excluded. Oh, you're not thinking like us, so you're outside of the family. So by doing constellations, systemic family constellations, we can rectify those energies. We can bring in the people who've been excluded. There are healing sentences that you say. And So if you just look up those two areas of thought or follow Thomas, he's got a big following, and various family systemic constellators, they have followings and websites, and then you will have more first-hand knowledge of how intergenerational traumas work, because this is too short a time for me to really explain why we need to belong, why there needs to be equal give and take. So yes, unconditional love is very important, but it needs to be equal give and take. As a parent, your role is a parent. As a child, your role is a child. You need to be sure of your place and order of things. So a child shouldn't be taking the role of a parent, and the parent should not be taking the role of a child, because then you have these imbalances. And we all know about energy imbalances, but how these imbalances cause traumas within families.
Yeah, that's very deep thoughts about.
And in business. So, one of the things that have been very interesting for me, especially with my academic background of the doctorates and the business model, is talking to other constellators, and I haven't been brave enough yet to do a systemic constellation in a business environment, but the constellators who do, and there are these problems, and yes, I suppose you could say as an organizational behavioralist, which I was at one stage, we could deal with it in a way, but the constellators so often say that one of the first things they do is they line the workshop up, and who was employed, who's the oldest employee, and I'm talking about your employment record here, not your age. Who is the oldest employee in the workshop? And you go from your oldest employee to your latest recruitment person, and you put them all in order, regardless of rank, regardless of department. You put them in order, and immediately, apparently, you feel the shift in energy.
That's right, Barbara. And that's probably why we should respect, not saying bad things, not criticize and blame other people from our family and from our business perspective,
Workplace,
because it's energy, as you said. And we had this discussion yesterday that, for example, our successes in life depends on about connection with our ancestors as well. That's very important to think about them, to be grateful to them, because we have this kind of gifts as our life because of them, because of their decisions, because of they lived, they took their own lessons, they had own challenges, and that's part of our DNA.
And what is important, if you actually look at the Hawaiian philosophy and the very powerful healing words of Ho'oponopono. So we always look in a time frame.
Please forgive me.
Yes, I love you. Thank you.
Yes.
So we look at a time span of 7 generations. So if I'm standing here, it will be my mother, generation 1, grandparents, generation 2, great-grandparents, generation 3, and then I'm generation 4, my children are generation 5, my grandchildren are generation 6, and I haven't got any great-grandchildren yet, but they'll be grandchildren number 7. So the decisions and the actions, my daily actions as I go about my day will affect that seventh one. So my great-grandchildren and all those in that time frame around the world are 3 generations from us are going to be affected by how we behave to other people today. And to me, that is mindfulness. being mindful how I relate to people in the street. We've got a lot of homeless
Everything
people
is
at the
natural,
moment,
so-
yeah?
Yeah.
How I react to that person, behave with that person, can very well have an impact on my great-grandchildren's lives who haven't even been born yet,
Right.
and everybody living around the world of that generation. So it's very important to feel the most important person to love is yourself. If I had to,
Right.
if you had to say, you've got 5 minutes to share something really big with the world, I would say you have to love yourself. If you have not got a loving, positive relationship with yourself, please don't inflict it on anybody else in your life. You know, until you get to that point, don't have a relationship, and certainly don't have children, because you're going to ruin their lives. So it's very important. Love, respect, honor yourself. That's important. The other thing is feel grateful. Every moment of the day, feel grateful for what you have. And be appreciative of everybody who gives you both positive and, that's the worst one, negative feedback. Be appreciative of it, because maybe the negative feedback will give you time to stop, think, pause, and breathe. And that's the other thing, breathe. And I hated doing my insight time and meditations in the beginning, because everybody tells you to breathe, and I'm saying, but I am breathing. But of course, there's a big difference between conscious breath, which is life.
Yeah. And we all have connection, mind-body connection. Barbara, you mentioned that you work on your mind through meditation, through reading. And now, maybe in 10 minutes, we're going to walk around to use our body to do some physical activities. Yeah, it's very nice, deep conversation, Barbara. What kind of words or inspired insights you would love to leave to our audience? Because you provided a lot of great recommendations and ideas, and there are a lot of insights because of that. Maybe you can say something else.
Joy comes from just wanting to be alive.
Yes. Thank you, Barbara. Dear friends, today we had great conversation with Barbara, so follow her and please comment below what are your insights because of this discussion. Thank you very much, Barbara. Thank you for your inspiration and your time, and look forward to talk more.
Thank you, Pavel, and thank you to everybody out there for sharing your time. I think one of the it's an investment, and it's sharing, and thank you for listening. And because to me it fills my heart that to actually do this means that you care. And I think the world will be wonderful if we all start caring.
Barbara, absolutely, because I believe so, that what I do, providing workshops, seminars, interviewing people, writing books and articles, it's my way to be valuable to other people. If just one person will do something with what we discuss, maybe he's going to change his decisions or choices or improve their lives, personal or business lives. That's
exactly
our impact
but
in the world.
And not a but, and what you have said epitomizes Africa. In South Africa, and I speak Zulu, so I'm going to say it in Zulu, we talk about Ubuntu a lot. And what is Ubuntu? So in Zulu, it's Imuntu Gumuntu Zabantu. I am because we are. If there is no we are, then I don't exist. Because who is seeing me?
Right.
To be seen, you have to be in a group.
Right.
And so I am because we are.
Yes.
And
Thank
that's
you.
Ubuntu.
Yes.
And so your program, your podcasts, that's what you're doing. You're creating the we are.
Thank you, Barbara. I'm going to show what we see right now by the window, but it's... Thank you again, Barbara. Yeah, dear friends, look at this.
The city is so cloudy.
Look at this beautiful
Or
view
maybe
over
it's
there.
easier through,
Yeah,
through there.
you see? Table Mountains. Yeah, thank you very much for being with us. See you later.
You see, it's better to